Hello, it's a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet TV Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Our top stories in the news tonight: stakeholders highlight anomalies in the teacher recruitment exercise. UNIP calls for a corruption tribunal. President Hakainde Hichilema unveils the Zambia investment program. In international news, Congo's ruling party secures lead in first round of parliamentary poll. And in sports news, Zambia to play against Namibia in the COSAFA Championship. Hello once again, another news in detail. A 37-year-old woman of Lusaka's Mbasela compound in Kanyama constituency has reported her ex-boyfriend to a community human rights-based organization for allegedly abducting her 10-year-old daughter on pretext that he is the father. In an exclusive interview with Camnet TV, Frida Nyirenda says that he only dated her former boyfriend, identified as Isaac, for 3 months and was never at any point expecting his child. She states that it is unthinkable for her ex-boyfriend to be living in denial that the girl is not his child. She now seeks help from human rights advocates, fearing that the man might once again abduct her daughter. More in this report.
Confused and still thinking that she would have once lost a 10-year-old daughter after it was alleged that her ex-boyfriend adopted the child, Frida Nyirenda of Lusaka's Basela compound still lives in fear that her ex-boyfriend might once again adopt a 10-year-old daughter whose name has been withheld for safety as he continues living in denial, thinking that it is his child. As she sat down, narrating a predicament, 37-year-old Frida Nyirenda accused a former boyfriend whom she dated 10 years ago of adopting a daughter. Ms. Nyirenda explained that she only dated the man identified as Isaac only for 3 months, and the two lost contact and only saw each other 10 years after, when he adopted the same girl and went and presented the child to his relatives to be his daughter.
Boyfriend one wakuda niwanda nizini azina sini ziwa na iwala ko pa kujitenia zifika hapa manje sini kumbuka ko So after 10 years, jepa mwana kubira manje kutenga mwana chini wako. Kubotenga mwana no pemba, bolo mpeze pe paroti no bolo mnyamwana no bolo ndana yengi. Sene sinaziwe kucha mwana tenga mwana ndani. Anabora bora manje kula sister wanga. Achi mwana mzambo msakira ndile ndile naye. Manje ungatenge bwanji mwana mene sori wako. So depa na anabora noza sister wanga achi mwana alikuwa so depa na ndo yenda ko manje tapata kumana paroti. Ndiye kwenda kwenda tenga mwana kuri wanko wake. Wanko wake na bwana wao achi mwana waruma amuleta kuno yo. Mwana si wake mwana wa nabora ndana mvija 3 months anabora sova na sova ndemo na bora ende. Kana bora angafuta chinezeri ku Mozambique. Maye ku Mozambique nshu mimbo na chitoponya orubwanji. Ndafaine pano na bora chokapo pa 3 months bana bora nayo. Na bora funa mama muna unangu ndamena bwana ngana envi. Ngana hivi ndamena bwana bora kona mwana. Baunga tinge bwanje mwana mesari wako.
She now seeks help from the community human rights organization, where she has reported a former boyfriend as she thinks that he might once again adopt the child and do something to her of her worst fear.
Inatandara menga funa neja kwachi ujamundu asakaboze pofuti. Because anga kaboza hapo mngadabachi mwana mchita vina ngora uja mwana si wake ni waona. Mayo uja chiteto aka mwana zani wana bwanji ni. ora mwamuna anani kwatira ningala naye amerasunga mwana uchafike pati azanaona bwanji azanaona mungachinja mwamuna karenda naye bachi nkudara vinasiri.
Meanwhile, by broadcast time, a Mr. Isaac was summoned to appear before the Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights Organization, where the matter was reported to, failed to do so. A phone conversation between his uncle and the operation manager at the State Community Human Rights Organization was noticed.
Okay, Magic. Okay, Manje Chame Chifu.
Listen, even me, I will be very happy. Even myself, that's why I am doing a part as a parent.
The parties have since been requested to appear on Monday so as to see the way forward on how the case can be dealt with. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A blind teacher, Charles Simokonda, has challenged the Ministry of Education to explain why it did not abide by the constitutional requirements under the Disability Act No. 6 of 2012 to recruit 10% of persons with disabilities under its teacher recruitment exercise. Speaking to Camnet News, the aggrieved teacher says the decision to employ 196 teachers with disabilities out of over 30,000 plus teacher recruitment exercise will cause vulnerability among those who have been left out, as they are limited in the economic activities they can engage in. Meanwhile, Zambia Union for All Persons Living with Disabilities President Pascal Mulenga says the Ministry of Education should state the way forward on teachers with disabilities who were left out, since it did not abide by the constitutional requirements on public employment. More in this report.
Disappointment was expected for a majority of applicants under the 30,000 plus teacher recruitment exercise, as over 100,000 applied, according to the Ministry of Education. Persons with disabilities, however, say they are the most disappointed, as only 196 of them have been recruited, despite the Disability Act No. 6 of 2012 clearly stipulating that 10% of public recruitments should be reserved for persons with disabilities. In an interview, Mr. Charles Simukonda, a teacher with blindness who has been left out, says persons with disabilities cannot engage in economic activities such as farming due to limitations, hence the need for government to incorporate 10% of those who applied, as is the requirement under the law.
This is a humble appeal to the government to tell us, or to those it may concern, to tell us where is our 10%. Where is our 10% goes? We need our 10% and we need the justice, please. Because we've got a good qualifications, we passed well, and we qualified to be a teacher. We registered, we got a ZAPID card, TCZ number, all those we have. And when we find that we've been left out, it's very, very, very unfortunate. We don't want to go in the streets and start begging. No, it's not our wish.
Meanwhile, Zambia Union for All Persons with Disabilities ZWAPID President Mr. Pascal Mulenga has also spoken out, calling on government to state its stance on the way forward for teachers with disabilities who have been left out.
These people are suffering. They cannot do anything. In their home, they are just being kept. Some of them, they cannot even go to the field and do other things. They are in wheelchairs. Others are even they are deaf, and others are even blind like me. So we are calling upon the minister and the current president to do what it takes for these people to be considered in order for them to contribute to the development of the nation. 15th
July 2022 saw the recruitment of 30,496 teachers, with 59% being women, 41% being men, and 196 being persons with disabilities. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Lamba Lima Squacker Association of Zambia has urged government to continue recruiting civil servants in order to reduce unemployment and poverty in the country. In an interview, Association President Jimmy Katanga says the recent recruitment of thousands of teachers in the civil service is a milestone, demonstrating the effort that the current administration is making to better the lives of citizens. He says the recent recruitment by government of teachers will not only reduce teacher-to-pupil ratio, especially in rural areas, but will enable successful applicants earn a living and contribute to national development.
As Lambali Maswaka Association of Zambia, we wish to commend the New Dawn government for successfully completing the teacher recruitment exercise, which is unprecedented and a biggest milestone. The massive recruitment will not only reduce teacher-to-pupil ratio, especially in rural areas, but will enable the successful applicants, more especially the youths, to earn a living and contribute to national development. Indeed, the New Dawn government has kept its promise and walked the talk. However, we wish to ask government to continue recruiting civil servants in order to reduce unemployment and reduce poverty. Lastly, we wish to congratulate the successful applicants and urge them to provide a good service to the nation and help the government to achieve its vision.
The Opposition Leadership Movement Party President Richard Silumbe has described the 30,000 teacher recruitment by the UPND administration as not assured unless all the shortlisted teachers are deployed and put on payroll. In an interview with Camnet News, Leadership Movement Party Information and Publicity Secretary Jason Mwanza says recruiting teachers is not enough, as the government needs to assure citizens that the recruited teachers will stay in employment. Meanwhile, Mr. Mwanza says the 11 months that the UPND has been in office has been nothing but a circus of accusations and unmet promises. He has since advised government to utilize the remaining 4 years to uplift the living standards of the Zambian people. More in this report.
The nation has been eagerly waiting for a time when the New Dawn government gets to fulfill one of the major promises that they made to Zambia, that is to recruit 30,000 teachers in order to improve the quality of education to learners across the country and meet the teacher-pupil ratio. However, this development has not sat well with the Opposition Leadership Movement Party, who have described this recruitment as unstable, saying that they will only relax once they see all the recruited teachers employed and on a stable payroll.
The recruitment by the UPND government is quite unstable for now. There is not much we can say apart from just wonder whether it is a genuine recruitment or not. Because we heard the Minister of Finance telling the nation that as long as IMF does not give the government a bailout loan, then they are not going to be able to recruit the teachers. And now that we have the AU summit ongoing currently, then we hear the publishing of the selected teachers. So we don't know if this is just to paint a picture that the UPND government is working, or if it is a genuine recruitment by the UPND government.
Leadership Movement, Information and Publicity Secretary Jason Mwanza says the 10 months that the UPND have been in government, they have not displayed leadership in improving the lives of citizens and stabilizing the economy, but rather have been chasing opposition political parties at the expense of saving the ones who put them in power.
The first 1 year of the UPND's rule has been a roller coaster ride, simply because a lot was expected of them, but yet little was given. And they have taken advantage of the people's emotions by playing tricks on them, cheap tricks of claiming to fight corruption, yet none of those fights have yielded anything. There's been an obsession now that has been created between them and the Patriotic Front, where now governing has become a circus. They keep going back and forth, while the Zambian people really want to know how the UPND are going to resuscitate the economy.
Messi Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
The United National Independence Party, UNIP, has called for the setting up of a tribunal which will include experts and investigators from the Commonwealth to aid the ongoing fight against corruption in Zambia. In an interview, UNIP President Bishop Trevor Mwamba says the current wealth that most politicians in office acquire these days is shocking, stating that none of the country's founding fathers left office with the amount of money and property that is seen now. Zambia is currently on an anti-corruption crusade, which has so far seen a number of suspected high-profile politicians being questioned over their properties. More in this report.
As of 31st December 2021, Zambia ranked number 33 out of 100 on the Corruption Perception Index CPI, as reported by Transparency International Zambia TIZ, which indicates that corruption is too high in the country. The CPI ranks countries and territories based on how corrupt the public sector is perceived to be, with a low score indicating high corruption cases and a high score indicating few corruption cases. In 2019, the country ranked number 34 out of 100, but dropped to number 33 in 2020 and 2021, indicating that the situation is not improving. The United Party for National Development, UPND administration, since ascending to office in August 2021, has come strong against the vice, and a number of political officials, mostly comprising those from the former ruling Patriotic Front, are being questioned and investigated. Some stakeholders have, however, been charging that the fight against corruption is a waste of public resources, as mass convictions are yet to be seen. United National Independence Party UNIP President Bishop Trevor Mwamba says a tribunal should be set up to enhance the fight against corruption. He was speaking to Camnet News in an interview.
And we should also, apart from our own resources, look beyond in terms of setting up tribunals and bringing in experts, whether it be judges or investigators from other parts of the Commonwealth, who can help speed up the process if we find that we are restricted in dealing with the issues of corruption.
The UNIP president has expressed shock at the wealth that today's politicians are acquiring in office, stating that none of the country's founding fathers accumulated such wealth in office.
Our founding fathers and mothers were anti-corruption, zero tolerance to corruption. President Kaunda, UNIP set up institutions, agencies to combat corruption. They ensured that the resources of the country were used for the benefit of the people. The founding fathers and mothers, when they left office, were very poor, in contrast to those who step out in richness, of course, most of it having been acquired through corruption. So what should be happening is that the various agencies and institutions which were set up should be given all the support, all the resource to, and have, in fact, in terms of resource, human resources, experts who can track down all those who have taken the resources of the country for themselves, and they should be tried and imprisoned.
Stakeholders have been calling for the fight against corruption to be strengthened, as the vice erodes the country of its resources and negatively affects the general population. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
United Party for National Development, UPND alliance partner, the Republican Progressive Party, RPP, National Youth Chairman Mwansa Chama has charged that the current administration and its alliance partners have not personalized the fight against corruption, as it is a concern for every Zambian, but to pave way for the recovery of stolen public assets and resources. In an interview, Mr. Chama says the alliance has also taken note of the daring statement by the former Republican President Edgar Lungu on corruption, which he says is unfortunate. He, however, says the alliance is not moved until a prima facie case is established to remove the immunity of the former head of state. More in this report.
As the fight against corruption in the country intensifies, a lot of people have perceived the fight to only meant in targeting a few selected individuals, especially those who might have served during the previous administration and public offices.
Transparency and accountability in the fight against corruption. It's very clear that from what my colleagues have said, our friends in the New Dawn government now are not committed to the fight against corruption. What you have seen, they've been very loud about the fight against corruption, wanting to paint a picture, as Senior Counsel Sangat said, against the peers.
I'm the former Minister of Home Affairs. I don't mind being arrested if I'm found wrong. It would have even been the same, sitting in the office as a citizen. If I broke the law, I was to be visited by the law. But what shouldn't be seen is to this perception of saying they can only visit certain people when they are no longer in authority.
UPND alliance partners, however, say the fight against corruption has not been personalized, as it is a concern for every citizen and meant to pave the way for the recovery of stolen public assets and resources. UPND Alliance partner, the Republican Progressive Party RPP National Youth Chairman Mwansa Chama says no one should feel as if they are being targeted, as those found in the wrong with the law will be visited.
The new Dawn administration has brought fresh breath in Zambia for a glory return and political landscape through steady and sure leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema. The Republican Progressive Party RPP, we would not personalize the fight against corruption, being a concern for every Zambian, but to pave way for the recovery of stolen public assets and resources. We have also taken note of the daring statement by the former Republican President, Mr. Edgar Lungu, on corruption, which is so unfortunate. But we are not moved until a prima facie case is established to remove his immunity. We therefore advise him to reflect on the bigger picture, because Zambia has been deprived of true leadership and the economy damaged. It is time for repairing, rebuilding and reuniting the country.
After taking power in August 2021, Hakainde Hichilema, Zambia's 7th head of state, launched a battle against corruption in the hope that countering the vice would help redirect huge sums of public funds toward economic development. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has underscored the need for African countries to pay more attention to investments in the water sector. Speaking during the launch of the Zambia Water Investment Program on the sidelines of the ongoing African Union Summit being held in Lusaka, the president says the water sector has not been receiving the much-needed support despite its potential to transform economies. Meanwhile, African Union Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture says the water sector has the capacity to end inequality and uplift the lives of many Africans if leaders dedicate more resources. And former President of the Republic of Tanzania, Jakaya Kikwete, who is also the co-chair of the Continental African Water Investment Program, says the council will soon introduce an African Water Development and Investment Scorecard that will grade how African countries are performing in the area of water investments.
How we manage water must not be repeated, not in our country, not in another country. I think that's the value of being a civilized global community. And the African Union itself, working together as individual countries, creates that platform that, and of course the specialized agencies, that we can work together in a smart way. If anything, we must start doing things that recharge the aquifer and also protect the surface water bodies. Not just from pollution, but actually from degradation. We've seen a number of surface water bodies disappear.
And there is urgent need to develop a continental policy on water. It is my hope that this this international high-level panel will also help the Union to develop a water policy framework to guide water and sanitation program for our continent in order to assist our member states.
The Africa Water Investment Scorecard will support countries to track progress, set benchmarks, identify bottlenecks, and take action to meet the investment needs to achieve SDG 6 targets on water and sanitation.
The African Union has launched an inter-regional knowledge exchange on early warning and conflict prevention (IREC) platform aimed at preventing conflicts and promoting peace to member countries. Updating the media Saturday on the sidelines of the ongoing 4th African Union Mid-Year Coordinating Meeting at Kenneth Kaunda International Conference Center. African Union Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Ambassador Bankole Adeoye, says this platform will also ensure that peace and security becomes part of the development agenda for Africa. Ambassador Adeoye explains that this platform will use high technology and will see Africa detect and communicate early threats to peace on the continent. He has therefore encouraged youths that are included at all levels of positions in respective countries. This is Camnet Television News. We'll take our first break. We'll be back with more news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. The Sub-Sahara Africa Farmers Organization, SAFO, says the Farmer Input Support Program, FISP, should also include graders and irrigation equipment if farmers under this program are to help to graduate to another level at a quick rate. In an interview, organization president Mr. Cedric Mulonda explains that this will help beneficiaries progress faster, as has been government's wish that those under this program graduate and become self-sustaining to create room for other farmers to benefit. Mr. Mulonda says the FISP program should also extend to include non-crop farmers such as those into livestock or poultry farming as one way of enhancing agricultural diversification. The Ministry of Agriculture has been calling for contributions from stakeholders on how the FISP program can be improved. 1 million small-scale farmers are currently benefiting from the initiative, which aims at supporting small-scale farmers with farming inputs as one way of ensuring food security.
We would want the agriculture support program to include now agricultural infrastructure, tractors, center pivots, drip irrigation, solar-powered greenhouses, pump stations, and dryers and so forth. We need to have the value addition aspect of farming also to be added into this. And let it not only be agricultural support only for agronomical crops, let it also be for veterinary crops. Let us have the agricultural support for people who want to go into cattle ranching, people want to do goat farming, chicken farming, pig farming, aquaculture, game farming, apiculture, beekeeping and honey production. That should also be put under FISP, because these are the sectors where we are looking to say the citizen can make money from and increase household income per capita. This is where poverty is measured from. So the agricultural support program is actually an instrument that can change lives of many citizens if used correctly. We believe that there's going to be an inspectorate that is going to be following all inputs that are outlaid to farmers, because some have been selling the inputs that are given and under the previous program, the FISIP. You receive bags of cement, of fertilizer, of seed. You don't even farm anything, just receive and sell to the next guy, get money, go and drink. But we want to stop that as farmers and encourage productivity.
The Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation has assured the nation that all the water and sanitation projects which have stalled across the country due to lack of finances will be completed once funding is available under the refinancing mechanism model. In an interview, the Ministry Permanent Secretary Joe Kalusa says most water projects are stalled because the government did not have enough funding to continue with their implementation. Mr. Kalusa disclosed that the government will ensure that the projects are completed through the funding from the Ministry of Finance and National Planning under the refinancing mechanism in order to improve the water supply status for most areas across the country. He states that the UPND administration is aware that certain districts and areas are still grappling with lack of adequate water and sanitation reticulation systems and has since embarked on sourcing funds for such projects.
The challenges have been funding, and I will clearly make a comparison as to before I came into this office. I found a lot of projects, a lot of programs scattered along this country were put in place, and yet there were no finances to support these programs. As a result, other projects stalled. Other projects, the financial obligations could not be met. As a result, those projects ended. Now, what this new government has done is we've tried to re-strategize, refinance them, and we are financing them using the local finances from the Ministry of Finance to just ensure that we continue with these projects which our colleagues started and failed to complete.
Sub-residents in Lusaka's Mandevu constituency in Garden Compound have expressed concern over the prevalence of alcohol abuse in the area, especially among the young people. Speaking to Camnet News, Angela Nyirenda says youths are not motivated to be productive as they spend most of their time indulging in alcohol abuse among illicit activities. She says youths in the area should desist from depending on government alone to find employment. Meanwhile, the Independent Churches of Zambia ICO's President Davis Masupa has challenged youths to be innovative and creative, adding that government is willing to support youths who can present progressive ideas. More in this report.
Zambia is one of the countries with the high rate of alcohol consumption in Africa, with 65% of the nation's population being that of the young people. That is something of a great concern. In recent attempts to curb the spread of this vice, the government has been putting in place measures that aim on regulating the sale and consumption of alcohol in the country, like National Alcohol Policy Implementation Plan of 2018, which provides a framework within which the government of Zambia, in partnership with other key stakeholders, shall develop specific targeted alcohol action plans, which involves working towards becoming a prosperous middle-income nation. However, in most parts of Lusaka, excessive beer drinking has remained one of the biting issues which government has to reckon with, as many youths in the country have continued to abuse alcohol. And speaking to Camnet TV, a resident of Lusaka's Garden Compound area in Mandevu constituency, Angela Nyirenda, says youths in the area have forsaken productivity and opted to spend all their time drinking alcohol.
Lack of employment, that's why I want to so problem chabe ni mindset na peer pressure mimi bana mayuthi bambi niona na voice bambi na ngwini job aja ntela amagambika bigamba so chabe.
Others say the young people in Garden Compound should not use unemployment as an excuse to abuse alcohol, adding that other youths in the same environment have been investing their time and resources in business.
Lazima kumwesa bana mu garden area kwa vuta bantu bamenywa majanki ya park so boma yanganepo tiopa na tikomba kana 19 hours kuyopa kuti ugulise upezeko drama za kuti bana bati manyumba tivutika mosongerera kusoito tienda 7 hours kuyopa kuti kacherera kuti godeko katundiyo kongolo kuyopa majanki kuti akanipeza zani paya so yanganeko kuno garden kwa vuta makamaka kujumba katema mlilo kanere kuja boma yanganepo mandipalinkani ya majanki na mandaji ya muba na abazima yani baza kusenseni na mabana kumsana kumwa muba.
Meanwhile, the Independent Churches of Zambia President Bishop David Masup has challenged the youth to be creative, saying that government is willing to support the youths if they can bring progressive ideas to the table.
We want to urge the youth that what you are involving yourselves actually is not productive, because before long you will be involved in illicit kind of activities and they will jail you. So in the meantime, as you are waiting for something productive, I think become creative, become innovative. These friends of yours who are Uberos and doing it as a form of transport, they are not foolish, because what they are avoiding is to go and start stealing. These that are selling salaula are not foolish. These that are washing vehicles are not foolish. So all these are innovative, creative ways of making yourself idle and start drinking kachasu from morning.
Mr. Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
This is Camnet TV and not just another channel. We take our second and final break. We'll be back with more news.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the machine.
There's so much data.
Mom.
Yes, baby.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
Welcome back. We continue with the news, and in international news, Congo's Minister of Territorial Administration unveiled Friday the provisional results of the first round of the legislative elections in the Congo. The Congolese Labour Party, PCT, of President Denis Sassou Nguesso secured more than half of the 151 seats of the National Assembly. In other news, France's foreign and military ministers begin an official visit to Niger on Friday, a key partner of Paris in the Sahel, at a time when France is seeking to redefine its military and diplomatic offer in Africa. Here's a roundup of more international news.
On Friday, the Republic of the Congo unveiled the provisional results of the first round of this month's legislative elections. The polls sought to fill the 151 seats of the National Assembly. According to the Minister of Territorial Administration, who announced the provisional results, the ruling party dominated the election. The Congolese Labour Party, PCT, of President Denis Sassou Nguesso won more than half of the seats. The voter turnout, however, was not communicated. A second round will take place by the end of July, once the results are certified by the Constitutional Court. Facing the PCT, the Pan-African Union for Social Democracy and the Union of Humanist Democrats fielded candidates. The Federation and the Collective of the Congolese opposition boycotted the vote. Niger welcomed Friday the French Foreign and Defense Ministers. On the first day of their visit to the Sahelian nation, Sébastien Lecornu and Catherine Colonna met with their Nigerian counterparts Hassoumi Massoudou and Al-Kassoum Indatu. After an encounter with President Mohamed Bazoum, the French and Nigerian ministers held a press briefing on the country's new security and defense partnership. Indeed, Niger has become a key ally of France in the Sahel region since the country was asked to leave Mali. The redeployment of Barkhane to Niger will create a situation that will be much more difficult in the north of the country, particularly in the region of Tillaberi, close to Mali. Niger has already accepted the principle that a large part of this Barkhane force be deployed in Niger to enable us to deal with this situation. When the time comes, we will have to make proposals to our two heads of state to look at the shape, the geography, the planning and the doctrine our armed forces should have in order to fight terrorism in the area. This is the mandate given to our two chiefs of staff to make proposals to the political authorities. This visit to Niger comes at a time when France seeks to redefine its African military strategy. After the former colonizers' withdrawal from Mali in August, Paris will maintain more than 1,000 men and air capabilities in Niger in order to provide fire support and intelligence to the Nigerian army as part of a combat partnership. Food insecurity and development were other main topics discussed.
U.S. President Joe Biden arrived in Saudi Arabia to a subdued reception. That may have been because of his past comments about the kingdom.
We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
A pledge he made as a presidential candidate after a CIA report suggested the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman may have ordered the 2018 killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The president's goal is to reset relations and convince the kingdom to pump more oil to bring down fuel prices in the United States.
I'm doing all I can to increase the supply for the United States of America, which I expect to happen.
But strained ties have made that a challenge, evident as Biden arrived at the Saudi palace offering the crown prince just a fist bump, a moment not well received back in the United States. Khashoggi's publisher, Fred Ryan at the Washington Post, calling it shameful, delivering MBS the redemption he was desperately seeking. And Khashoggi's fiancée warning Biden that the blood of any future victim will be on his hands.
I'm sorry she feels that way. I was straightforward back then. I was straightforward today. He basically said that he was not personally responsible for it. I indicated I thought he was.
Earlier in Biden's meeting with the Crown Prince, the press confronted both men.
Jamal Khashoggi, will you apologize to his family, sir?
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. President Biden, is Saudi Arabia still alive? President Biden.
This was the response of the Crown Prince. He appeared to smirk. A serious question left unanswered, with reporters then ushered out.
It's now time for sports news. In sports news, football fans have expressed happiness over the men's national team's qualification to the Council for Southern African Football COSAFA finals, which will take place on Sunday after beating Senegal 4-3 in the semi-finals. Speaking to Camnet TV, sports analyst Robson Sikombe is delighted that Zambia has once again qualified to the finals. However, more needs to be done to ensure that the national team brings the trophy home. Zambia beat Senegal by 4-3 in the semi-finals for the tournament played at Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban.
Very, very good result for Zambia, very, very good motivation. The benchmark was set very high by the ladies, and I think the men's team did a fantastic job to beat Senegal. and now focusing on the final against Namibia. That should be a much difficult task, because Namibia is also up for it. They are trying to win it as well, just as we want to win it and match the record that I think Zimbabwe has. And great piece of play by everybody in the team, except I have one reservation on the goalkeeper, and I'm only hoping that he steps up in the next game. One of the things that they need to work on, of course, is the goalkeeping department. I wasn't very impressed yesterday with because he kept on making the same mistakes. All the 3 goals, if you analyze them properly, he was getting off his line. And what he needs to do is, they only have today to work on it. Tomorrow is the final, and I'm only hoping that the coach Stephen Mwansa, who manages the goalkeepers at the national team, could have noticed what needs to be done today, and I hope they are working on it.
And still in sports news, teams participating in the playoffs of the Under-19 zone games to decide the 4 teams that will book their slot in the Division 5 league have complained over alleged mismanagement of the games played in Lusaka on Saturday. Speaking to Camnet TV, Siavonga Town Council Football Club coach Lawyer Handuze is not happy that each team was made to play 5 games in one day. And the Solo Tigers Academy Football Club coach Webe Chimba says FAS demonstrated poor logistical support to the teams. Meanwhile, the Football Association of Zambia Lusaka Region Deputy General Secretary Chilando Kupikwa disclosed that FAS did not act independently when preparing for the games, saying stakeholders agreed to the terms of the tournament. More in this report.
The playoffs of the Under-19 zone games that would decide the 4 teams that will book their slot in the Division 5 league were played today in various grounds in Lusaka, among them Kabulonga Boys Secondary School, Chaisa and Chawama Secondary School, where 24 teams were selected from the 17 zones across the country and divided into 4 groups consisting of 6 teams in each group, with all of them playing 5 games against each other in one day. This, however, has called for concerns from some of the football teams whose complaint is that the Football Association of Zambia FAS had poorly arranged this tournament.
We just need to improve on how the games should be played. They can give even after a week or 2 weeks, so that at least the players, they can have a time to rest. Today, a day or 2 games, a day 2 games. If they have like the way we have, we are 6 in a group A. We need just to play. Maybe today we play 2 or 3, then tomorrow we play 2, which was going to be right now. We are going to play 5 of all the 5 games today, which will be something else to our players. From Siavonga to here is a very long distance, so they are even tired. So I don't think, but I just wish them next time they can do better than this.
And the Kafiwa Solo Tigers Academy Football Club says FAS should have considered financially supporting these games as a means to improve the quality of grassroots football.
FAS is supposed to support us logistically. We haven't seen any logistics from the officials from FAS. So it's like maybe FAS are not, to them they are not prepared, while teams are prepared. What's the difference for us who are qualifying, who are doing the playoffs today? Those that were in Division 2 going into Division 3, Division 2 going into Division 1, they were given ample days, ample time to prepare, unlike us. So we are challenging the FAS officials to be serious, so that this is developmental. If developmental like this one, FAS officials or FAS itself as a committee cannot give ample time to players so that they can select which players they can pick, we are facing a challenge like that.
Meanwhile, the FAS Lusaka Region Deputy General Secretary says FAS did not make any arrangements independently.
As an association going on for next season, our plan is that we are going to be having this kind of playoffs, this kind of tournament that's going to be held in 2 days' time, so that we give more time to the teams to relax. Logistically, we are coming in to help them in full, so that the event is well taken on, so that also teams benefit on that part. which is a very, very big challenge to them. We'll look into it. I've taken note of their concern, and as association, these are some of the lapses that we are going to work on going on to next season for 2023-2024 playoffs.
Macy Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
That sporting note brings us to the end of the news, but we'll take a look at the headlines once again. Stakeholders highlight anomalies in the teacher recruitment exercise. UNIP calls for a corruption tribunal. President Hakainde Hichilema unveils the Zambia investment program. In international news, Congo's ruling party secures lead in the first round of parliamentary polls. And in sports news, Zambia to play against Namibia in the COSAFA Championship. Thank you once again for watching the news. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.